Hello, dear Connecticut judges and state prosecutors, but also states attorneys. There is recorded and confessed by you guys and demonstrated by you guys by Ms. Prisian involvements with racketeering since before our nation's founding of this nature. This demonstrates what they did to make people motivated to blame other things, others themselves, for what our American history wants voiced. It needs voice. We don't have free speech. Since I was a kid, New Britain Superior Court. Before that, other courts and people were confessed and recorded and demonstrated with them too, though. Involved with a house slash S in my area. Two houses, three houses now. I mean, there's more. And it's all them using of fact cheaping nature racketeering. They have been sicker than gangs too, with value treatments with cases past, ongoing, and to come. So we have this inherently, actively, and progressively sequence shift racketeering, and it's forming alter styles with it. These are also behavior crimes. And now, what they've been hiding, these are also people associated with this nature of racketeering, forging names, switching names, all kinds of police reports, torture of each age of fact sheet nature sustained. These are the same ones that have been maintaining criminal uses from off the campuses, on off campuses in sustained ways. So they have the identity that all the positions are together, maintained with precedence, and that is incapable of defending itself. Everyone, everywhere. Their styles of fact sheet in nature and standing, all that is discernible with sequence true, inherent, active, and progressive. So now there was a former Mayor Gold and his family, and a whole bunch of other people from other streets and parts of Weathersfield through time involved with this, which is also identity racketeering. To have someone walk by you, have brief interactions with people so they can lie about it, and with sequence, and never allow writing. The whole time they're letting people speak in the background, but they're not letting anyone. And in other words, they're making you take positions for you. They're making you take positions through lawyers and things like that are also criminal uses of lawyers with fake sides of correlation nature, which is the whole thing, which is Trinity nature. These are all because these are also people with connected criminal uses of the identities individually grouped and together of each type of religion, and that individually grouped and together, the standing sensibilities are influence, are criminally foreign influence, collusion, fake sides of correlation nature, because we have the branches, the sciences, everyone in collusion originally still already needed to offensively pretend to perceive things like the validity, like the worth of precedence, originally and still criminally foreign influence left by our founders to demonstrate the actual identity of value slash value progression. It's value. That is the identity of relationship all things have at once that are beyond our control, as what is in demonstration of it. See, we have theories offensively as the sciences, but their quality of fact treatment, premise treatment, that consolidated scientific consensus used instead of science in relationship to identity of the ground, relationship to quality of fact treatment nature. Retreat. Now, everyone's a victim. So, everyone can not fathom, not by accident, means to survival any way but one that's that's going to self-value, how the identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to our quality of fact treatment nature is tactically denatured. And so the proverbial devil left this organized crime method that engineered everyone self-valuing that peripherally through other motivations, natures of needs and styles needed to agree to to blame themselves on that as a quality of fact cheaping nature. So it was that is maintained a bridge since semi-ancient times, since they therefore tactically, effectively, criminally re-engineer human fact treatment nature by taking the campus's ancient campus Marcius, the value of ancient sciences that understood how we are an individual nature of volume, grouped and bonded, species nature of volume, grouped, sex, age, area. All that is to demonstrate this trinity and its value/value nature relationship to itself, which is identity nature. And so it's coursed by a value progression system that is the perfect world. See, we have the perfect world and have other phrases involved with opinions that are offensive, evidence racketeering roles. Per means to the motivations of it, the Wethersfield Police Department recorded through time involved intercities with Hartford police departments, also with people with already through time with news networks. Now, these are people involved with a database relationship that was involved with the racketeering that our American history is really about. It's about the surface value of the Constitution and about how below and the wild eyes being the value of our branches, all their offshoots, like the Wethersfield Police Department, like the new and past one, involved with them further with racketeering that George Washington had to leave in this town right before on off the state judicial branch offices. That route, this is with houses all along that route involved with racketeering, with foreign and domestic nations involved with it, with the manipulation, the moderation of the sensibilities of people in the background with our systems communicating. Before that happens, they involved everyone with identity racketeering, sequence racketeering. You have people that you never, because they have evidence racketeering. They're evident. They have people in the background that would pretend things that they would never be able to pretend on paper. Not because they want privacy, whatever like that, because they can't pretend they're already invested. Sequence racketeering too, because they're preventing people from free speech to demonstrate how the courts recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They have physical delusions. They have criminal foreign influences. They have all kinds of sick criminal uses of how many names are tied to them. And that is just one court. The other various natures of courts and their family members are also involved with this racketeering method, which is completely human fact cheating nature. Using a lot, the program using its nature of volume with floods. With floods and fills or leaves, Leahy, force, space, nature, transfer. Anthony Wall, an expert in the nature of English grammar. I'm going to correct it. Since ancient times, wrong. This is Romulus and Remus science. Alpha, you can't separate yin yang. And alpha is a part of a trinity. As our nature, as value, as nature. The difference between the physical sexes is, I'll do that in another video. But we have time. So the difference between the physical sexes is a demonstration of this. In other words, the value of that shifts in relationship to the identity that is what's going to cause positive value nature progressions, fruits, and gifts, or negative value nature progressions is a demonstration of it, which is the value nature system, which is extensive, but it's not complex. But people are offensively pretending it's complex because they're forcing truths by value nature systems that are recorded, criminally foreign influence here and there. Therefore, they're reliant here and there, not by accident, with pretending other. They're reliant upon actual wars that were facilitated only realized fathomable but in other words, we're in a tactically denatured relationship to nature, forced with the fact treatment, nature, slavery, torture of our founders, identity thefts of our founders, identity racketeering against our founders. Then they'd start fights about, like, they maintain this quality of fact treatment nature. For example, but look, they have a lot of money and stuff like that. This is a whole bunch of nations, hundreds of nations individually grouped and together, fake suits and ties. If one tries to get out too loud, we're already negotiated with way worse than terrorism, right? Where they're saying we can't negotiate with terrorism because they are it. They're right, we can't negotiate with terrorism. That's why we have to have the species nature of volume, not blame the wrong things. Boxings. That's why we have to have free speech. That's why we have to counter the judicial branch. We're individually grouped and together. There are crime methods individually. Each group already, each individual grouped together of each branch are crime natures originally and still. And that's why they won't let us demonstrate the basic identity of correlation nature that left so many Americans forsaken while they're pretending to be freedom. That's why they're valuing offensively. The same people, they're keeping criminal uses of every value treatment, of every even down to where people die. In many lie. We have forensics labs. Former director of the FBI is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Had a federal criminal co-defendant, a John LeConte, and his daughter. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with a Joe DeMoro, with a Mike Kerr, with an Eric Jensen, involved with racketeering with houses in my area. And with that, in the past, they attached me to fake conversations and relations. So I need to have differences with people. But I need to ignore that first because these courts are offensively at the same time preventing me from having free speech. They are preventing writing criminally and pretending other and making confessions and demonstrating they stack fake things. They use courts to shut people up. These same courts are recorded racketeering acts rolls with Sandy Hook, with people associated also with all the news, with the police forms and the sources in the branch, with the ad companies, not by accident, involved with the same family members, timed ad placements, whereas now they were using racketeering with the sensibilities of the people with Facebook. Their relationships to market position value treatments abridged and worse than self-value because we had original still to deal with, sub rosa, active, and progressive, much worse. Sequence racketeering, identity racketeering, identity of correlation racketeering, science racketeering. I'm not even a lawyer. God help us each. Now one must teach. So the Wethersfield Police Department has a whole bunch of people getting invested deeper and deeper into all kinds of racketeering. Two Mendez police are involved with this. These are all natures of abuses of each age of boy and girl by the ones by the only people allowed to counter such. And that's why and how they're sustaining through time a crime method they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. And these are the same ones I don't even know. So that's why we need the judges' names, because they want me to start having these fights out here, so they can. So because then it's a fact cheaping nature racket trick, because no one looks into the past because of this, because they start overt and simultaneously juxtaposed mispraising and racketeering against people if they start voicing correlation nature's voice with sequence true inherent order of our nature's value progression, active nature of our value progression's value, and progressive nature together. And that's per nature of correlation nature. That is prayer as an element of science that is looking to be not is to discern what we know always distinctly from what we do not we're not sure, and distinctly from exception nature as a nature of truth that is distinct from all other natures of truth. In other words, what is true always and as exceptions, and without them exploited by ourselves or having by others. See, we have the identities of each branch, a needed value, a blessed value. And that was known by this organized crime method that was entrenched here with sick, crazy laws, like with color, like with identity of the ground's relationship to itself. That was involved with fact cheaping nature, torture. That was involved with investing the human fact cheaping nature to roles as natures and styles of fact cheaping nature, therefore then defending them, therefore as needs for positive, as criminal and serious natures of positive. And that was exploited in layers to develop those natures of styles of liars, to invest everyone, to need to prevent the free speech of everyone else, even their own family members, who they have involved with racketeering. And they're criminally foreign influence through value nature systems, that's why they're offensively hurting people by pretending not to realize they don't have a job. So they hurt people. They keep being poverty, what they call poverty, not realizing. See, they have each position of the human fact cheating nature against the other. They force in the presidents to be roles with a nature of pseudo positive that they're forcing pretend to have integrity ever. Not one modern nation's leader was let have anything but state scenarios criminally foreign influenced, criminal insidious nature, force it pretend other. That is why chief is distinct from president. That's why Native American rights. This is a breaching organized crime method using human fact cheating nature in sustained sick ways, because it uses the sustained product of that. Not for but that's value. That's the way it works. See, we have those voices never let healed. The formal voices rules. We have to deal with even the sciences too. But see, the reason the way this is an organized crime method. Further, as we're going to see, a whole bunch of people with the Wethersfield Police Department, with state police departments, how and with justice, and how they have excuses because everyone's a victim, but they won't let demonstrate how distinctly not. And so you have to deal with the court first because they'll lock you away, and then and they'll torture you there. And that's also they're also already grouped racketeering with other branches of other natures of motivations not by accident, already, self-valuing, having had since before our founders' births. The real cause of negative value progression accidents, like the World War One. Not one person will let this demonstrated where it is actually recorded. We went into World War One because of George Washington was still a fact-cheating nature slave. He didn't have free speech. He was still tortured. He was still extorted. And worse, how do I know that? He had to leave in Wethersfield right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, overt slavery. Now, Institute of Living in 1822 was associated with this too, on the campus of Hartford Hospital. On off the campus of Hartford Hospital, their roles with racketeering has been through lifetimes, with locations on and off their location there. Now you see this little setup they put that goes right towards Fox Connecticut News. Then there's like the little parking lots. How we go through. Then you see, we're going to see where the same distinct and non-distinct, the same sickly distinct racketeering method is sickly non-distinctly also the same one involved with less murders and things like that, but as the same people involved through time with the shootings, with roles with shooters and killers in Hartford, Connecticut, in New York City, in Boston through time. And now these are people involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of other nations, overt criminal enterprises, a whole bunch of other nature of private criminal enterprises, not by accident. The sciences all abridged, self-valued that way. In other words, it's a fact-cheating nature truth that this industry's of science. This industry's of science. But that's not science. But to consensus, that is criminally foreign influenced. And it is a breaching screen and tool that way worse since founding, whereas how it counts fact-cheating nature. So now they're covering lie progressions by pretending to perceive things on with people that interact on off the state judicial branch offices, involved with other natures of racketeering, like with drugs, that uses and keeps because their motivations for it. This is a method of using the drugs to keep the courts, to keep the justice system, just to keep the Pentagon conjunction with Washington D.C. Trade Center attack, private agreements like with psychology, their roles with medication, forcing medication to people. Then what's going to happen? The people are going to react, and they're going to have statutes still, a whole bunch of nations at once, exploit interbranch racketeering with evidences. They're going to value that already having been exploited by people walk by you, then they pretend they know you. Every exception criminally used criminally, because they also invest each age of fact-cheating nature. They can't look back in the past. Their family, they were intelligence community. They're fake sides. Russians, Americans, a whole bunch. They're involved with psychology, a whole bunch of fact-cheating nature racket tricks. In other words, if you present just the charge and you tell people that you're switching the names of the police forms, they're already involved with the crimes, and then they're arresting you and switching the officers' names because they didn't want to get caught with what is actually recorded. That's what they do, crazy things like that, and they do it with police forms from other cities. Interbranch police forms, their family members are already invested to racketeering with databases. That was their motivations and roles with what led up to the Trade Center attack. Our Justice Department, in cases, all the courts, all the people tied to them privately, especially the medical community, whole bunch of shit, fake sides, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and they're charged with the passions of fake sides because they're racketeering together with all kinds of psychology, involved with all these jobs. Oh, I work for criminal justice. You have people with physical delusions and racketeering thinking for you. Don't have that think. Don't pretend that should think for the people of Puerto Rico, recorded in the same organized crime trap as America, as a territory of America. We're not free together. Native Americans aren't free. You know, everyone's in a fact treatment nature, criminally foreign as a fact treatment nature, criminally foreign influence. So then someone needs to demonstrate how they are hurting even the hurt of boys and girls, of the youngest ones, formally. They're needing to hide their roles with the fact treatment nature racketeering, with evidence racketeering, lie progression cover up racketeering, with whole groups already in the background. So now they're hurting little kids offensively too, because that's mixed with it. They don't even realize that. They can't, they do, but they're already invested needing to pretend they have integrity. We're stuck. We're in a war, we're worse than a war zone. That's how we have to admit. Each modern nation at once. There's nuclear weapons, but we're still, since before cars were forced with a methodically, tactically unsafe pathology of homes, of relationships to themselves, to the means, to nature of relationship to itself. Come on. Boxings, every industry, the door to every industry, they have it used involved with this. Sammy Vega recorded, demonstrated, confessed, involved with the racketeering intercampuses, also on off Fox Connecticut News. Thaddeus Grabowski, who is also a, a co-defendant, a former director of the FBI in a 2006 case tied to this. They're involved with racketeering just before that, with locations on off and people on off Fox Connecticut News databases and their private security of their building. Involved racketeering with other agencies and their family members, also involved with a whole bunch of people with identity thefts, acting things too, tied to it, tied to the people with the New Britain Superior Court, stacking fake things in databases through time, attaching kids to fake locations. These using people, facilitated a whole bunch of people on off CCSU with the name Alicia, involved with a whole bunch of state police, involved with an Eric Jensen, a Joe DeMoro, also recorded, confessed and true that the Kerr family. I mean, they didn't say that, but they're involved with racketeering with the people connected to next to the schools and the church locations, connected those locations, and JCs, because these are also connections with and people associated with the Samuel Dick's house through time. They're with that corner, and like with a Yagman family and a Pandolf family involved with prosecutors and judges, retired and standing. See, these are roles with trafficking, roles with racketeering with FBI, with a whole bunch of federal criminals and a daughter of theirs, a Dawn LaConche. They're also I don't know her. They made an illusion to make it look once real one's life over time, which is also tied to Hamden. I think it's Hamden, up where they have a river there. Involved with the Hanson family, people with racketeering with drugs, overt criminal enterprises, racketeering with medical families in locations with the systems of them, intercampuses policing, involve racketeering, involve trafficking, involved with people on off the New Britain, the New Haven FBI, involved military racketeering on off CCSU too, on off Trinity College too, involved racketeering with pilots' families, all facilitating through the same houses, all victims of what former director of FBI helped facilitate, his lawyer, their roles with on off his lawyer's office on Farmington Avenue, their roles with racketeering uses of Harriet Beecher Stowe and of everyone who's black and every color. But when they use black, of course, it's worse when you're black. But every time they do it, it's against everyone. So this is to keep everyone sustained to styles, hurt, and reacting, and then defending that reaction in relationship to AB. We have the branches as live progression rolls with this, criminal uses of this. They can't pretend what they're needing to pretend to themselves and to others. They have physical delusions too, with their quality of fact, human nature justifications. They have reliance upon with other things that have nothing to do with wars. They have reliance upon war. They have reliance upon means to exploit that. So we also have Church Street and Old Weathersfield sought me out to confess, demonstrate, and record. They're involved with databases tied to racketeering that is vertical and horizontal. And this is also racketeering with confessions. That is the same way that the churches were using it criminally. And this knew that was going to happen. They knew that the Quran and that the Quran is warned about this. No one has free speech yet, and with science, no one has quality factor free speech. Quran warned against people that are going to pretend that they're Muslims always. See, we have fake sides maintained, rolls with its self-valued suits and ties, here, there. Blame other things, others themselves, for the real cause of identity of negative value and progression that humanity is in. Inside that are live progressions from each database relationship click. So next to WFSB, there's a Rocky Hill Athletic Center. They're also involved with state police, involved with racketeering, also undercover, retired and standing, involved intercity with the child trafficking problem, which is also recorded with all kinds of problems, using the identity of the FBI as misprision, as an offensive evidence racketeering perception with each of the branches. This is as sequence racketeering with the Homeland Security as the formation of it. See, but that's tied to all types of jobs, opinion natures, database relationships that are involved with racketeering. They can't defend their styles of pseudo-positive and convictions tied to it, and us from what exploits in them and other nations from at the same time. What exploits hundreds of nations that have value agreement fights about what you can't defend there or here without being a predator for each area, without valuing predators only having been realized, facilitated to collusion, and, for example, facilitated with all kinds of medical racketeering involved with their opinions on what people say. I'm not a doctor. They're recorded, forging names, switching names, racketeering with all that intercampuses, because they keep now they need to hide live progressions and lies from presidents, whoever gets there. These parties, they have them keeping self-value, fake sides, and or alternative worse. To keep that all as the fact treatment nature relationship to it. We have the identity of the republic for which we stand, not let discern fake sides. That's what not chief. That's where President Kaepernick and the guy in the background are at the same time. Victim predators. And then they're forcing. They know how to force that state. Oh, either you're a predator or you get hurt otherwise. Because of what I'm showing you here, and this is evidence. They know that's evidence, and they won't let it do it. We have courts recorded, confessed. They prevent free speech. They stack racketeering acts into the databases, fake recorded things. they pretend other by attaching you to fake recorded things. They make confessions. These are people involved with further with a whole bunch of ways with different religious cliques. Everyone's speaking through others that use criminally. They're juxtaposed also undercover. They're all sick. How can we have child offenders through administrations? It's recorded how they have even when they brought in Me Too, because they're preventing mandated law on a mass scale criminally. They're quoting statutes by leaving consciously criminally knowing they're exploiting exceptions, and they knew that they would do that before they did it. That's why we have a whole bunch of people. When I was in middle school, that were attached to fake locations with me as people associated with Fox Connecticut News and with downtown Hartford. They knew if they could get they would walk there, they made it look like I know people. And then too, like you tell someone to go to your boxing fight, like a Rick Leon. I don't know him. All I know him from is context recorded, confessed, and demonstrated the same clique with connected confessions about their roles with racketeering interbranch and overt criminal enterprises juxtaposed, and the locations involved and the people involved with child sex offenders and untimely deaths that brought up the child sex offenders. And the principal sex offenders campus further involved with recorded confessed child offenders. And the Wethersfield police chief's daughter, his foreign extended family member and homeland extended family member also involved with them. And these are under the untimely deaths connected on and off Trinity College, other racketeering acts, a whole bunch of people with my new and past neighbors. Racketeering acts on off CCSU, the same people. They connect that, and they're in the background pretending things. Then they have people that work in the courts pretending things with them too, verbally too, behind our backs. Online policing involved with them. Their uses of Facebook, racketeering, leading up to the Trade Center attack, leading up to the formation of these online platforms, with the furtherance of their roles with online policing, their narratives with the racketeering with psychology, their delusions raw, their sequence racketeering roles, their racketeering methods and natures overtly and simultaneously insidiously sickly, pretending not to realize that they're pretending to be against with their foreign layers. We have to deal with the misprision interwoven, originally and still. Modern nations can't defend themselves and us at the same time. And the sciences. This is from off the ground of each age of fact cheating nature, forsaken, where and as now it counts. And simultaneously sickly distinctly. And so effectively having kept how sickly non-distinctly from demonstrating how we don't have free speech, because everyone's kept needing to react to everybody else because the courts. That's why we have to deal with the courts first. And that's where we have to. They'll shoot you on the way in and say whatever if something happened. That's what we have to deal with then. But fact cheating nature wise, we have distinctly enough, we have to deal with them simultaneously. The executive and the judicial branch is sick because they're also racketeering with the prisons involved with the overt criminal enterprises, private ones and medical ones. These are people that are involved with racketeering that is recorded that what our founders wanted us to demonstrate it, forced both us and France to fight with Germany criminally, and then the same time with the Joseph Mengele. That was what was behind. You know, this is the evil, real. In other words, you fight about debatable. Of course, I mean, of course, it's no good. You kill people, mass people, but then you blame one person. You leave out Joseph Mengele the whole time. You leave out how we went there when we had all those sick racketeering with psychology here still, with color still. Roles as breaching screens, pretending not to realize criminally foreign influence, because it's a criminally foreign influence method from some ancient times that knew everyone would have to react to criminal foreign influence, nature or volume of states and areas, of everyone. And they would have to blame other things other than themselves. So this is the organized crime method that modern religions are really about, but they're not let the first part of their of the Quran or of the first Old Testament have value. So the Quran is demonstrating awareness that ISIS, it demonstrates like groups like ISIS are in collusion with a whole bunch of nations with racketeering, with justice, and with psychology involved with it. These are people spread. You have all these sick, fake mental diagnosis. We have racketeering natures involved with child sex offenders, body dumping spots criminally through administrations. The FBI, these are people interstates involved racketeering with the FBI through time. Their roles with other nations, same thing. Pathology of business infrastructure, shared policing, shared agreements that is as logic as criminal serious nature, legalized, but criminally legalized. And so with psychology, we're involved with the racketeering, also with individually grouped together, effectively maintain criminally foreign influence families. Everyone victim predators distinctly and non-distinctly. The overt criminal enterprises need to be demonstrated this the same way as the okay, thank you. This is I'm gonna see what just hit the window here.